हिसाब से।
Very nice, very nice. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining our Heartfulness Wellness webinar on Serve to Deserve. As you would have been seeing, there are multiple webinars which we are conducting as part of Heartfulness Institute to help all of us move towards the wellness initiative. Today, we'll be talking about a very important theme, which is serve to deserve. What does it mean? If we see in our daily lives, in the whole nature, it seems all systems are created not only helping themselves, but also helping the nature around them. It seems nature has the idea of service as a DNA embedded in it. Then why do us as human beings think of serving as an external concept? Why do we think that service should be only spoken when there is a crisis? Let us start our today discovery on this topic of serve to deserve and go deep in it. We all would have heard about Mother Teresa. She was honored by Catholic Church as saint. She was also given the Nobel Peace Prize. What does she say about service? The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. And the fruit of love is service. The fruit of service is peace. Let's repeat again. The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. It seems she has decoded and given to us the entire anatomy of a service. And it also seems that for her, service is only a stepping stone towards inward peace and contentment. As part of this pandemic which is hovering around us, I was listening to one of the interviews by one of the caregivers, and they said that the idea of service makes them overcome their fear. So, what is so great about service? Why does it make us become better than what we are? And why does it makes us make lot of effort to think of even idea of service, whereas we know in the entire nature everybody is serving something else, somebody else. To take us more deeper into this topic, I'm very happy that today I'll be joined by two eminent guests who are going to help us understand this idea of serve to deserve. My first eminent speaker is Srimati Vatsala Vasudeva. She is IS and MD of Gujarat Industries Power Company Limited. She is a 1995 batch IS officer of the Gujarat cadre. Currently, she is posted as the Managing Director of Gujarat Industries Power Corporation Limited in the rank of Principal Secretary to the Government of Gujarat. She has earlier served in various capacities in the Government of Gujarat. She is Masters in Business Administration, and also she is a practitioner of heartfulness meditation for past 12 years and is also a heartfulness trainer. I have known Vatsala ji for quite some time, and around her there is no high and low. We're all equals, as if Mother Nature is serving everybody equally based on the divine role. Vatsala ji, welcome to our webinar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you. And I'm also equally happy to have Mr. Harpreet Bhan also joining us. He is Vice President, India and Middle East for Adizes Institute, who is a premier management consulting institute. Mr. Bhan is currently delivering organizational transformational programs for companies and institutions that creates an environment of mutual trust and respect. Mr. Bhan has previously served as a board member and regional director of a British firm that employed over 650K people and had presence in 120 countries with a turnover in excess of $15 billion. Mr. Bhan regularly delivers lectures, talks, and conducts heartfulness workshops in India and abroad. Mr. Bhan is also a practitioner of heartfulness meditation for past 15 years, also a heartfulness trainer. I have also known Mr. Bhan for quite some time, and there is one thing which I always remember. He always inspires us to serve more. I've never visited him without thinking, what can I do more to serve? He inspires all of us, he encourages all of us, he motivates all of us. Mr. Bhan, welcome to our webinar. Thanks for your time in joining us.
My pleasure and privilege, Rishi ji. Thank you so much.
Now let's start our discussion by putting some simple queries. Both of you have been very successful in your organization. You have seen a lot of people enterprise-wise, entrepreneurship-wise, in bureaucrats, different societies. So Vatsala ji, if I may ask, what does service means to you? And what are the essential qualities of a service?
Shiji, I think service, first of all, requires a certain sensitivity and compassion. It is not just about donating money. It's not just about grand gestures, grand acts. I think it begins with a generosity of spirit, of sharing, sharing of heart, a sharing of pain in some way, of the other person's burden, of the other person's problem. It is a recognition that here is an opportunity the person could do with some lightening of his burden. It is also a sacrifice for the person who is serving. It is not necessarily a monetary sacrifice. It could be a sacrifice of time. It could be a sacrifice of one's comfort. In the time, maybe in the 5 minutes that you are doing something for someone, you could have done something else with your time. In that sense, I think it is a sacrifice of varying degrees. It is also going outward, going beyond one's very limited self for which we are normally slaving from, morning to night. It's going outward in that sense. And I think it also involves initiative. You cannot tell somebody to serve. You cannot command, that do this. Otherwise, it's no longer service. So as the founding father of the heartfulness tradition with which I have been very privileged to be associated for many years, Babuji Maharaj very succinctly put it, "Kaam diya nahi jata, kaam kiya jata hai." So work is not given, but it is done out of one's own initiative. I think that is something which is very important to this whole concept. And when you are serving all human faculties, body, mind, heart, everything, conjoins, it combines in that act of service. There are, of course, many different levels of service. You must be, covering them in the next few minutes. But I think whatever, regardless of the level of service, we are serving a higher purpose. Once we transcend our limited self and we serve someone, we are serving the creator ultimately. And there is a very marked recognition of this in the Indian spiritual tradition. Swami Vivekananda has said, if you want to find God, serve man. So the idea that service of the poor, service of the downtrodden, the underprivileged, it is akin to worshipping God. That's very rooted in the Indian thinking. I think these are some of the elements which service is made of.
Thank you. Harpreet ji, you want to add something? What is service? How do you relate with the idea of service? Harpreet ji, you're on mute.
Yep. One can always start at the mundane level, and there are standard definitions of service, and they are right. It's absolutely correct to be there. I took a hint from something which I picked up, which is attributed to Lord Krishna, where he says, give love to children, respect to elders, and service to parents. Why would he make a distinction between children, elders, and then parents? And why service to parents? Why not just love and be done with it? Because that's very natural to do. And I don't think I have an answer, but I've been exploring this thought. But I think when parents reach a certain age and when their need to be served is higher than our need to be served as children, at that time, maybe the service element towards parent needs to come in. It's a deliberate, conscious effort, which somehow does not happen as a parent to a child. When it's parent to a child, it's almost subconscious or unconscious. But when you say to parents, people that you've looked up upon throughout your life, and serve them or give service to them, what is Lord Krishna trying to say? And I think what I've been able to decode as what could be elements of service here is there needs to be an intention and a purpose. Firstly, there needs to be a conscious effort. It should be towards a purpose, because as you said in your opening, everything around us is serving a purpose, and it's always serving something else.
Right.
Anything that serves itself is cancer. So if you don't want to be cancerous, and people can be cancerous, families can be cancerous, companies can be cancerous, countries can be cancerous, sure. But if you don't want to be that, there's always something else that we are serving. So I would say intention or purpose, a conscious effort, and then I think I picked it up from the Adi Guru of the Heartfulness movement, which is Sri Ramchandraji of Fatehgarh. We lovingly call him Lalaji, where he has said that serving each other will be considered to be a duty by everybody. And to me, that then starts explaining so many things. So service is not something that I do for someone, it's actually a duty that I must perform. And I think that's a lovely description or definition from where I would like to move ahead in this discussion.
Great. I think that's a very beautiful point. I think both of you have mentioned. It seems like service and is like our dharma. Duty is our dharma. It's our dharma. And in the whole big picture, we are supposed to perform a lot of these duties, which may not be that self-contained, which may not only service me, benefit me, as you rightly said. I remember a definition of service is given by one of the masters in Sahaj Marg, is service is fulfilling the need of the moment. Now, so beautifully, it transcends any barriers of any, kind of putting it into this bucket or that bucket. A heart which is so soft and filled with love, fulfilling the need of the moment. And the moment arises, and we have an opportunity to fulfill that need. We become an instrument of nature and fulfill that need. I think that's the simplest way we can define a duty or a dharma, right? Now, at this point of duty and a dharma, Harpreet, let's pick those points. The duty, which you said, which rightfully mentioned, that service should not be seen as, always, giving something to other. It is our duty. This is why human beings are being given this power to do something, because we can do as a duty. So, what are the different levels of the duty which you think we have as human being? Suppose you tell me what are the different duties me as Rishi Ranjan has, which can help me make this idea of service go bigger.
Now, I must tell the viewers, I mean, before we start exploring this answer, Rishi was very kind enough to include a slide to introduce Vatsala ji, introduce me, but he was modest enough not to introduce himself. By the way, those viewers interested, follow his social series of talks. It's Ek Rishi Ki Baatein. I recommend that wholeheartedly. This is a gentleman who has got tremendous wisdom. So in a way, I'm a little bit nervous with his questions because I don't know what he's going to ask. But at the same time, I'm very excited about it because I know he will tickle areas of my consciousness that I've not been able to reach myself. So thanks, Rishi. Before I take this further, I
Thank you,
just
sir,
thought
for your kind words. Yeah.
I must do that. Again, levels of service. It's easy to compartmentalize, or maybe it's very difficult to compartmentalize also. I don't know whether it's worth it to compartmentalize. But I had a visual just now as you were talking about this. And the visual was these three concentric circles. You know, we have one circle and then another circle surrounding it and a third one. So at the base level, at the micro level, it is me, it is myself. So that's one level. So I think there is some service to myself that is my duty to. At the next level is, what's the way I should put it? I think it's things which are my direct responsibilities. Now, nature has provided me some direct responsibilities. It's parents, it's wife, it's children, maybe brothers, sisters, whatever I believe I'm responsible for. And then there are some other responsibilities that come from my material work. I have a team, I have a boss, I have clients, I've got other stakeholders there who I'm responsible for. So these are my direct responsibility, which have come into my life by quirk of nature, by fate, or by choosing. Let's not get into that debate.
Yep.
So that's my second circle of direct responsibility. Then there's a much larger third circle, which is in a way my indirect responsibilities. They could be the environment, it could be my country, it could be my community, it could be my neighborhood, it could be the universe, it doesn't matter. So I think when I visualize these three levels and this number 3 and 3 levels, somehow they play a very important role in my thinking. There's so many things that are at a physical level, material level, then at a subtle level, and that at the very subtlest, finest level. I mean, you have ice at a physical gross level water, then you have the flowing water river, and then you have steam or vapor, which can go anywhere. So when you look at these three levels, one is myself. So there's a duty to myself. I need to serve myself. Then there's a duty, there's a service that is required for my direct responsibilities. And there's also a service required for my indirect responsibilities. And it's fascinating how these circles, although are there, but I think the intent is that the consciousness keeps growing where the circles start overlapping each other and, you know, somehow the borders start diminishing. And that's right where my thought is right now. And so if these are my three levels of service, I think that's what I would like to go by to start with and see where this discussion takes us.
Very nice. Vatsala ji, any thoughts which are coming on this topic right now?
I think Harpreet Bhai has put it very nicely. There are very different varying levels of service. It could be a child, you know, helping his parents in the housework at home. It could be a person keeping water to feed birds in the garden, in which case, again, it is no great, you know, financial investment or requirement. It's just the heart, it's the thought, it's the spirit, and the person is doing something, extending himself. The other level, if you look at the current crisis of the pandemic, or in times of crisis, what public servants do typically, I mean, they literally risk their lives for the country. It could be a soldier in the time of war. In the current war against the virus, it is doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals who are literally risking their lives in treating patients, in you know, caring for them. police officials, public servants right now who are at the front lines, risking themselves, their families, every moment that they are serving. Also essential service providers. And I think what is important in such a situation is our attitude and our support for them. It need not even be a physical level of service. It can be mental, it can be emotional. Reaching out to, maybe, I'm sure we all know some doctor, have been treated by some doctor whom we have befriended or who has befriended us. It could be just reaching out to them, appreciating them, a message. It could be including them in our prayers. So I think serving those who serve is one level of service. Another level could be cooperating with, government instructions, government authorities at such a time. For instance, the government has appealed number of times not to deduct wages of workers who are caught up, who cannot come to work because of this. Another thing could be for those of us who employ domestic staff, people who work for us at home, maybe go that extra mile, not deduct wages, but maybe give a little extra, because whatever we are suffering, whatever we are going through, their position is definitely worse than that. So that could be one level, serving those who serve us normally on a day-to-day basis. And another could be, there have been calls by many leaders to help in feed people, feed those who have been displaced by the crisis. They are hungry, they literally don't have a roof over their heads, they don't have food to eat. So if we can materially in some way donate, contribute to any organization which is serving this cause, that could be one, or any other cause which would be relevant at that time. And I think just being kind, it could be a smile, it could be inquiring from the cop or the security guard at the gate that, when did you have your last meal? Have you had something? So service need not be grand, need not be ostentatious, but it's the heart really going out to that person, seeing him as a fellow human being. I think these are some of the levels I can think of right away.
Very nice. Thank you.
Could I, sorry, Rishi, I'll just, again, I think it's a lovely trigger that has come from Vatsala Ben's answer. The first thought is, in order to even fulfill my duty towards others, in order to be able to give, I must first have. Because if I don't have it, I'm not able to give. So if I have to give 20 rupees to someone, but I have all my resources add up to 10, even though I may want to, I cannot. Which is why I think service to self, it starts with service to self. It has to start with me. I should develop some capability within myself in order to fulfill my duty to others. So that was one trigger. And the other one that got triggered from her answer was, serve with just a smile. I work very closely with Dr. Adizes because I'm part of Adizes Institute, and he recently, just 2 days ago, released a blog. Yesterday, actually, he released his video blog, and he's crediting 3 people who he has been inspired by in his life. One from whom he learned humility, one from whom he learned to operate from a place of trust, and the third one, believe it or not, is attributed to Kamlesh Bhai, which is Daji, where he said he serves with just his smile. And this is what Vatsala Ben said, just give a smile. And how Dr. Adizes described it is quite beautiful. He said, Daji has a smile that is disarming. It's like a child's smile. It's like when you look at a very beautiful child, which is just smiling for the sake of smiling, you forget all your fears, you forget all your pain. You're just taken in by that moment. And Daji has that. And then he goes further and decodes it and says, the only way you can smile that disarmingly and serve others through that disarming smile is when you're not bothered with the past and you're not loaded because of future. You are there in the moment, in the now. And when you're in the now, it can be that smile with complete gay abandon, which can really enthuse, disarm, heal, take away pain and worries of others, which is what an incredible way to serve. Just a smile.
Right.
I just got triggered by that thought. So thank you,
Yeah.
Vatsala Ben, for including the smile. So I thought
Right.
that was relevant. Over back to you, Rishi.
Thank you. I think that's a good discussion. We are going into the multiple variants of service where, physical service, economical service is one, but bringing emotional richness is also equally important. So we should not forget that. And I remember in reading where I think one of the great master in Heartfulness said that if somebody needs something and we give him that thing, that is our duty. As Harpreet Bhai was saying, that's our duty because he has come to us for our duty to be fulfilled, and it is our duty. It's not a service. Service is when we give him peace, something which he has come and he is not even asking, but just by our sheer presence, we are able to make and give him or her the peace. So yes, I think the multiple where, and as we started discussing, as we can only serve the way we are connected to the whole world. If you are connected to us, we'll be serving us. If you are feeling sensitive to our family, we'll be feeling the need for them. If you are sensitive and we belong to the universe, we'll be sensitive to the need of the universe. So the more we go up into our inner journey, the more brighter and bigger and grand the idea of service will start descending in our hearts. Now, I mean, that's being said, that's an idea in our journey. I mean, let's come back to the real world. And, Vaslaji, I want to ask you, been there doing, administering a lot of projects, a lot of activities as civil servant. What is that one act of service which is so fresh in your heart that you would like to share with us? By anybody during any crisis or non-crisis, which touched your heart, which we can all learn from.
Rishiji, allow me first to thank you for this wonderful point you raised about giving peace, reminding us of that, which is the ultimate service. And as you said, as we progress in our journey, it becomes, the scale changes, things become grander. I feel I have been touching very mundane points so far. That's really a lovely thing you reminded. Now coming to your question, I think one has had one's fair share of crises over the years in public life, fair share of disaster management, earthquake, flood, avian influenza. One of the things I remember in 2006 when I was Surat collector, and this was just before I started heartfulness meditation. In fact, I think the stresses and strains of that assignment sort of drove me to this. So I'm very thankful for that terrible period in a way. And there was one of the worst ever floods to hit Surat city at that time was in August 2006. Surat city was a city with a population of about 30 lakhs that time, and the army was called, the air force was called. Nobody knew the magnitude of what was going to happen in spite of all previous preparation, because I mean, just nature's exploded in the rains, and there's high tide, so the river was also in spate, the water coming down from the dam was also not getting absorbed, etc., etc. We were caught up in offices, literally slept there, called the army. Now the army came, but the army was unfamiliar with the terrain and obviously did not want to risk any lives. And the taluka just surrounding Surat city, Olpad taluka, that is a saucer shape. It has a very peculiar geography. It's saucer shape, Rakabi, what we call in Gujarati. So the SDM, he went with the army and they wanted to know how deep is the water, how do we get in here? We won't even get our boat in here. So he told them, they said, "Hum kaise hote hain?" He said, "Jai Mata Ji keh ke kood pado," and he literally jumped into the waters. Wow. It was deep. It was running water. He risked his life. he jumped into the water to assure them that this is safe and how deep it is. And they also really appreciated his act of courage. The commander later sent a letter officially acknowledging his bravery, commending what he had done. And another point, if I may make, by the same SDM, it's not just, grand acts which count. There was a large number, maybe 100 donkeys who had been tied with a rope to a pole. The way in rural areas, it may have been just to ensure that they don't go away, and meantime this happened. And he happened to notice that. So he went and he just cut the rope. So they were at least able to, swim. Nature was able to take care of them, and they swam to safety. That image somehow I shared it with my family members, and that really touched a chord in everyone's heart, that here you have these mute creatures who would have otherwise maybe saved themselves, but the poor fellows were tied. So that is one thing he did. These are just a couple of
Very nice.
images which stand out. But otherwise, by and large, if I can say that my experience as a public servant in Gujarat is that there is a tremendous spirit of service in our people, in the public. There's tremendous large-heartedness. And I think whenever there has been any need, whenever there is a crisis, whether it's earthquake, whether it's flood, whenever the administration makes an appeal to the citizens, to NGOs, they just respond magnificently. And it's almost as if in no time we have to make another request that please, no more is to be donated. Thank you so much. We can't take any more. So that has been a very, very heartening experience. It's something very unique, I think, to this land.
Very nice. Thank you. I think it's very heart-touching, the stories which you just told. I think somebody who's resonating to the needs not only of the humans but also to everybody in the nature, even the animals. I mean, I think that's a very great example of the epitome of our sensitivity. Right? And also you have mentioned it so rightly that when the idea of service is we are enamored with it, we are totally obsessed with it, then small time fears doesn't seems like a fear at all. We just transcend them. Like a baby crying for milk, so a mother will do anything to give the milk, and all the fears are transcended. That beautifully. And also, I mean, when you say the service, people opening their hearts widely, and I think because they are connected to a higher faith or a higher source. Small time, capacity confinement doesn't, kind of come to their mind, because the idea help is here and the infinity on the back fulfilling it, I think. So, very nice. Harpreet, in your, as a management consultant, working with global customers, making, ensuring the profitability is high, how do you see service, example of service in that world, right? Any example which you would like to share, where the idea of service which touched your heart?
Sure. Again, I mean, I'll take a trigger from what Vatsala ji said. I wonder, why does it take a catastrophe for us to cut off the ropes that tie us to be able to be one with nature and allow nature to help? So maybe catastrophes, calamities, or pandemics or crises are required for us to cut off our ropes. So I think most of us are donkeys, really, for that matter, waiting for a crisis to be able to finally chop off what's not needed and be free. The other thing, I think, again, what's triggered from your conversation, your add-on, and Vatsala ji's was how a large crisis, a pandemic, something like that, how it unites, how it brings people together, how it, little things are forgotten, things that mattered very, very hugely to us, and they decided whether we get angry or not. They decided whether we reward someone or punish someone. They simply don't matter anymore. And I think what comes forth is the absolute generosity of the heart. across the board, uh, the utter humility of the mind, of the ego, the absolute humility of a person when you know a little virus can bring you down, can bring the whole world down to its knees. And the third thing I think which strikes the most, you asked for one or more examples. The examples are all anonymous examples. You'll never read about them. You will never hear about them. It could be very little things, but when you have these little drops collecting over, the ocean is made. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, various of our clients, ex-clients, current clients, they've come forward and done acts of generosity with utter humility, and many of them wish to remain anonymous. So I will not name them, but apart from typically donations, I mean, that's the first thing. I mean, several of them have donated to the Heartfulness Core Fund, the COVID Relief Fund that was set up, PM Cares Fund. They have set up funds for their own team members, for the underprivileged around them. Whoever needs, whosever need is more than mine. Let me just see what I can fulfill as long as I have it in me. From our end, again, it was something that was left anonymous, but not anymore, if I'm going to spill the beans. We waived off our invoices for April and May voluntarily. We didn't wait for our clients to ask us. We told them, we said, we are available. The fact that we're not traveling anymore, we have more time than what we used to have. So go ahead, our time is yours. So let's engage. So we are engaged much more. And what we have said is, please accept what you would have paid us. You know, some of them have gone into voluntary salary cuts. I said, if I'm a member of your family and you are part of me, if you're taking cuts, I mean, who the hell am I to not take a cut? So this is my chance. I can now add value to you, not just for the sake of money, for something much beyond. So please give me that opportunity. That was our take. And it's amazing what our organization, what our clients are doing. It is incredible how the senior management has gone out to protect the ones at the lowest end, saying they will continue to get paid even if it means we don't get paid, because we have savings, we can make do. And the examples are many and we have limited time, and but I think let them be anonymous, let them be something that gives utter joy. And if we just start observing, I mean, I come from the Sikh faith. It gives me huge joy to see the langars that are going on. Amazing service that's happening. And it's inbred in us, as kids, this thing of seva, langar, I mean, we've been born with it. It's kind of subconscious. And I must tell you a story again. It comes from the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. There was this war with the Mughals. But in the end, in those times, they still followed the discipline. After sunset, the war kind of, it held off. And people then rested and reintegrated before they start fighting next morning. So there was this gentleman, Bhai Kanhaiya, and he used to give water. He used to just give water to the wounded. So he started giving water, and the Mughal soldiers were lying wounded and the Sikh soldiers were lying wounded, and he was giving water to everybody. So the Sikh soldiers went and complained to Guru Gobind Singh. He said, he's our man, but he's, giving water to the enemy. This is not fair. You take him to task. So Guru Gobind Singh called Bhai Kanhaiya and he said, hey bro, what's up? Why are you doing that for the Mughals? We are fighting them. And what this gentleman said, Bhai Kanhaiya said was, the war has stopped. I see you in every person there. I have no discrimination whether that's enemy or my person. I only see you. And if you're lying wounded, how can I not give you the water that you need?
Right.
So till today, this tradition continues. And, we call it Chabil. In the peak summers, you have cold drinks being given out and kachi lassi being given out. It's named after Bhai Kanhaiya. All water points are named after Bhai Kanhaiya. So, I mean, what would be the condition of such a volunteer where he sees his master in everything and he does not discriminate? He just gives the light like the sun would.
Right.
So I just thought, so, so these are really the stories, the inspirations that should guide our hearts. And why not? Because if you take a step back and really count the things that you really remember in life, amongst the many joys of life, I can tell you what will top the list was at some point where you did a little thing that touched someone's heart, and who came and told you later on, you did this and it really touched my heart. You'll never forget that. They'll never forget it. So this joy of giving it's an incredible opportunity. Nature has given us yet another opportunity. It's our time. So I may have gone on long. Sorry.
No, very
So
nice.
back to
I
you.
think, thank you. Very inspiring and a lot of thought-provoking anecdotes and inspirational stories, Harpreet bhai. Thank you. On the idea of service, I mean, I remember when I was child, my father always used to switch off all the lights. And he used to say, and now I remember, he used to say, power saved is power created. And at that time, I now realize he was thinking of all the villages where power was not able to go because I was wasting the power. That was how he taught us how to do service by simply using economy of resources that we have. As we rightly said, it may not be a grand idea. Just using what you need and letting go of what is not required by us. I mean, that's a simple human touch we can give. Now, on this topic of the service and the attitude, Harpreet bhai, as you have rightly left us at a high level of thought process and feeling, what are those top 3 qualities that you suggest to anybody, like you suggest to me, which I should have, so I should become those Kanhaiyas, those Mother Teresa, and at least I should start inculcating that. Definitely, it will not happen in a day, but at least the first 3 steps, if we can kind of lay down, that will be a good start, I would like to.
Boy, I think generosity, humility, anonymity, that's a given. What else could be there as part of my attitude?
Anonymity is very interesting because lot of times we see, people, like we go to park, there are benches, they are written so and so has given and donated. And now you're telling us that anonymity is one of the key principles. So how do you see both of them coming together?
We need another hour or more. No, I think it's okay for those who may want to donate and have a bench written. If that's what gives them satisfaction of having done something, it's fine. I think that's okay. Each one should be, I think you asked for an attitude before. I think one of the attitudes
Exactly.
I might want to say is authentic. Be authentic, be true, be honest to yourself.
So let's spend more time on this, like little bit. Can you give me 2-3 more lines on the word authenticity? What do you mean by authenticity?
Authenticity is just being honest with yourself, in the sense being true, calling a spade for that matter, doing what comes to you from the heart. Now, again, many times we mistake what comes from the mind and we say that's coming from the heart because we think a lot. And again, there's another tip that I've picked up from my guide. When you have to listen to the heart, you generally you feel something. You don't think about it. You actually feel that thought. How does it feel to you? If it feels right, then I start thinking. I think about it. Now that I've thought about it and I've come up with some kind of an answer, I go back to my heart again and see how does that answer feel. So
Right.
really it's this heart-mind combo, heart-brain combo, whatever we might call it. It's the heart-mind coherence. So I think if I can be true to that, the other thing is never forget, I think, the purpose. Never forget that there is always a higher purpose, and who am I serving? I talked of the 3 concentric circles. I could be serving myself, but in serving myself, if I'm going to hurt the next concentric circle, I have to choose the next concentric circle. If in serving my direct responsibilities, I'm going to hurt the indirect responsibilities, I should choose the indirect responsibilities and actually let go of what was supposedly my duty to my direct responsibilities. Maybe that's where it is. So I think that is authenticity. Knowing the larger purpose. You called it dharma. So dharma also has got so many connotations. To my mind, I would define it is being true to the larger purpose. And the larger purpose is being true to who am I serving? And ultimately, I'm serving a very large expanse of the universe because I have the potential to do that. That is the gift I have as a human. How do I expand that potential so I can actually do that service? Maybe that is being authentic, being true to your purpose at that given point of time, and choosing the higher purpose if you're caught between a dilemma, if you're at a crossroad. So I would leave it at that, and if something else comes up,
Sure.
I'll
So
probably
that's very nice.
share
I
it.
think what I have inferred, which you just mentioned, the qualities is the idea of service is already inherent in our hearts. If you're authentic, we'll be taking it up, and then the next step will not be our small circle. If you listen to our heart, we'll be automatically hooked on to a larger purpose as a whole because our heart is all connected in that manner. I mean, the larger purpose, the authenticity. I think that's what, we can start our service with being authentic to ourselves, not having any pretentious, feeling in us, not having any roadblocks being created in us, just being authentic. The idea is already there. So,
I mean,
Vasudeva, what? Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, just that example that comes to mind. I was just thinking, I do something, and in doing something, my family is getting hurt. I will obviously choose my family. It's very natural.
Yep.
Can I have the same feeling for my work? Can I have the same feeling for my colleagues? When will I equate them together? Because I end up spending more time with them. And not just that, will I be able to choose the environment over what my direct responsibilities also need at a certain point of time? Because in doing so, if I'm hurting the environment, would I still continue to do it? So that's where I am with authenticity. Vatsalaji, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Vasudeva, what's your top?
I don't think I know any rocket science in this. It's really the same. It's the same attitudes. Maybe a little different take on that. I agree entirely about the bit about humility. I think all religious, all spiritual traditions emphasize, recognize the importance of humility in service. And you mentioned the bit about names being inscribed on benches and all that. That's a very valid point. I would not like to comment on it, but I think if one is not careful, it's very easy to develop a subtle ego.
Yeah.
Social service is a big trap. It's a big ego trap. I'm almost like God helping people out there. So there are some who get into this whole thing of statistical achievements, how much I have done and how many bottles of blood, and this whole thing about publicity. So I would be a little wary. I would be very wary about it. And one thing which the heartfulness tradition teaches us, one way in which to prevent this ego is to begin any work. I would say especially service, any work, of course. Serving oneself is also service. Harpreet Bhai said very rightly. We heard Daji talking yesterday about how poverty is a curse. So, unless you can fulfill your own needs, you can't do anything to fulfill higher order needs. Forget about anybody else's needs. So as per the heartfulness tradition, we begin the work in his remembrance, in divine remembrance. We try to end it in his remembrance. So in between, the subconscious is hopefully in touch with him, and we are protected from the effects that, the repercussions, the impressions which doing the work very consciously and very proudly might get to one. So I think that is a useful tip. We all talking about service or attempting to serve
Yes.
could keep in mind. So
Yes.
this would also, I guess, lead to humility on its own, which is a very important requirement. Also to remember one's limitations, when one is serving and not get all puffed up. The other thing about anonymity, this is something which the Christian tradition also talks. The Bible says that when you give, let not your left hand know what the right hand is doing. So this is certainly the antithesis of publicity and this whole craze for taking credit, which is unfortunately a symptom of modern times. In this context, I'd just like to quote Mahatma Gandhi. I came across this nice line from him, which also touches upon another bit about service, about how it leads to joy. So Mahatma Gandhi says service can have no meaning unless one takes pleasure in it. So it's initiative, it's from the heart. You cannot force someone unless one takes pleasure. It has to be very joyful. When it is done for show or for fear of public opinion, it stunts the man and crushes his spirit. So I think this bit about spirit behind the service is very important. Service which is rendered without joy helps neither the servant nor the served. I would also like to just add, Mother Teresa said something very similar. She said it's not just how much we do, what we do, but how we do it. How much love we put into that action. So this links up with this whole thing about heart and doing it from the heart. And I think this bit about service, the Indian concept Shramdan is a very popular concept. It's not just about money. Someone may be rich in money, someone may be rich in can devote time, someone can contribute physical labor. Each of us has a different I think skill set or resources which we can devote to service. So it's using whatever they have, and that's what Shramdan is. It's not about donating or devoting money to a cause, but Shramdan, devoting your labor. So I think Indian tradition is very rich, and all traditions, all religions, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, everyone places service at an extremely high pedestal. Sikhism, of course, it's seva karna, kirat karna. All this is very much part of the genetic makeup of most religions and spiritual traditions.
Very nice. Thank you. I think the pitfalls of service are equally important than doing service also, because as Harpreet Bhai was saying, if we are serving to serve ourselves, our ego, then that service won't go that far, right? I mean, so right.
Cancerous. If that was the case.
We'll do disservice to the nature itself, right? To ourselves, in particular. So we should.
But Rishi, I've got this another very I don't know. It's a crazy idea. I don't know if it is even relevant, but it's striking me. I had read an article by Kamlesh Bhai some months ago, and he talked about devote. And he equated it, what does vote mean? Vote means I exercise my choice. And devote means I've been able to make myself devoid of that choice. I don't have that choice anymore. I'm devoted. So whatever my beloved says, I'm going to just choose that. So I give up my choice because I have chosen already. So I've devoted myself, and that really is devotion. I was coming back to the topic now. Serve to deserve. Knowing that if I'm consciously serving, and somewhere if the motive is to gain publicity, that the motive is to put pictures and show everybody what I'm doing, then there is a certain ego for sure. Then there is a certain set of impressions, and now I'm doing it to serve a purpose of promoting my own self rather than the service itself. So deservingness or deserve is serving to deserve. Again, when I'm serving not to serve really, it's actually to deserve. Take away my ego, take away my own limited purpose, and let there be a larger purpose. So I think deserve and the devote and this analogy, I think is something that could work even here.
Yep, absolutely. Very nice.
So
I think that was the last question which I had. I think Harpreet bhai, you have already started in that manner. So yeah, very nice. So exactly. So what does serve to deserve?
Sorry, 1 second. Let it be on record. I have been one step ahead of Rishi Ranjan at one time. This is on record. Thank you very much, Rishi bhai. आपका सवाल से
Absolutely,
पहले
yes. I mean, you have always been ahead. You have been made aware only once. Thank you, sir.
Back to you. Sorry, Rishi.
Yeah. So, serve to deserve. We have spent like good amount of time on service, the pitfalls of service, the attitude of service. What do I deserve? And what is this deservingness all about? Vatsala ji, would you like to kind of talk a little bit more on it? What is serve to deserve?
Shibhai, the only thing I can say is that this is that classical paradox or invertendo that is so common in spirituality, as in, it is in giving that we receive. There is a prayer by Saint Francis of Assisi also in which he says it is in giving that we receive. So it is in serving that actually, the way I look at it, in serving that we are actually being served by a higher power, by the Creator. We are being enriched in some way. We've all been discussing how when you're serving someone, it's akin to worshipping God. You are ultimately serving a higher purpose than yourself. So I think we are serving a higher power, and in that we are getting enriched. Harpreet bhai made a wonderful point that we are doing it for ourselves actually. We are not doing it, it's just at a service level, X is serving Y, but actually the amount of benefit that I get, the enrichment that happens, I am actually serving myself. And that person is an excuse. We really need to be grateful to him that he has given an opportunity for us to grow in some way, for inner growth, for that lightness of heart and joy which comes from service, which are an inevitable byproduct, I think, of selfless service. So in that sense, the giver is actually a recipient. It's something intangible, yes. Ratan Tata may give 500 crores, yes, but what he gets is intangible, but it may be, many times that what he has given. And a chance to serve is always an opportunity. Looked at that way, it's always an opportunity. And this thing, serve to deserve, I think there is an underpinning of faith. All service, I think, all true selfless service has an underpinning of faith. It doesn't matter what religious tradition, what spiritual practice it may be, because all religions, all traditions exalt service. Service of parents, Harpreet bhai started off. It can be service of the sick, the underprivileged, service of nature. I think in the current times, we are all seeing how nature is taking a rest. It seems to be breathing, during the pandemic. We're really serving nature by resting. So, service at a physical level, another way, service at a physical level, I may be doing something for X, Y, Z, but the amount of boost I get, the mental health, I think there has been some research, maybe Harpreet bhai or you can enlighten us more. I'm sure there's a lot of research on how serving actually gives a kick, gives a lift at the physical level also to the service provider. So especially in times of pandemic, in times of crisis, I think it's very useful to keep this in mind instead of getting into, a passive, helpless, victim kind of mode and we can't do anything, we can't go out. Let us see what we can do. It's something constructive. It gives you a sense of, being able to mold mold your immediate environment, at least mold your destiny to whatever little extent. And it definitely gives you a boost, not just at a very physical body level, various chemicals, hormones, etc., etc., but at a much higher, much deeper level, in terms of, you know, the inner growth, the joy, the blessings, if you call it, that happens. So I think serve to deserve, it's really a very rich topic, and these are my modest
Very nice.
thoughts on
Thank
it.
you. I think, what I hear from you and the excitement and the word mold being used, I think what you are trying to say and what I have understood is service is a choice we take of creating a new thing for us inside us. It is just not sacrificing something. It's not a depletive process. It's a process which creates a positive future for us, around us. And if we are into that mode, then service becomes another act, doesn't have that ego in it, right? So good.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. That sacrifice bit is at a very petty, very physical level. Yes, somebody may have just 500 rupees and he may still give 100 rupees, still give 200 rupees. But that's at a very mundane, materialistic, tangible level. But the rewards, of course, are at a level which you and I cannot see and cannot
right.
quantify.
Very nice. Thank
That's
you.
my understanding. Yeah.
Thank you. So Harpreet bhai, and any rounding up the whole topic of serve to deserve, your closing remarks, including any medical benefits, any experiential facts which you would have come across as being management guru for all of us.
Oh, there's a huge amount of research, and by the way, I think information is there at fingertips of everyone, and I would encourage you to even just go to Google Devta, and you'll get loads of research papers already on the benefits of giving happiness or giving or serving, and there are loads. I mean, but I'll tell you from memory what I can recollect are straightforward. From a physiological part, an act of giving which makes you feel good. Why does that act of giving make you feel good? Because some hormones do get released. I mean, you've got dopamine, which is the big mood enhancer, and then you've got the serotonin, which makes your digestion better, maybe, which makes you sleep better, and then you've got the ultimate, the cuddle hormone, which is oxytocin, which reduces your BP, which kind of makes you feel wanted, and so many other parameters that oxytocin brings. It makes you feel loved. There was another research which clarified that people who are giving, who and the act of giving, consciously or unconsciously, doesn't matter. The fact that I'm giving, it reduced the stress related activities. It created a greater amount of reward related activity and caregiving related activity in the brain, and that has been studied and mapped. So obviously, if one were to take science, it's very easy to scientifically conclude how an sheer simple act of giving can give happiness. And it need not be a crisis that needs to trigger that. It could be giving up your seat to someone who needs more than you. It could be opening the door for someone. It could be, giving up your place in the queue to someone. It could be very little things. They matter. But I think what really matters ultimately are things that you don't even are consciously aware of that you did. I gave the example of Dr. Adizes quoting Daji, his smile. I don't think Daji is consciously smiling to serve Dr. Adizes, or for that matter, anyone else. He is just doing. He's in that. He is that. Similarly, yesterday my children were in conversation with their chuddy buddies over Zoom, catching up, as they called it. And they were recounting times of their childhood, and they were telling me things that we as parents did, which the other kids were remembering, and we have no recollection of them. But it's left a very warm impact on them, and they're all now 25, 24-year-olds, I mean, young adults. So obviously we were not conscious, and that's the ultimate act of service, I think, when we ourselves were not conscious that we are doing that, because we simply were authentic at that time. We were just ourselves, and in doing so we impacted someone positively. So I think that's where deservingness will come. And my thought on this, because that was a crazy thought, deserve and deserve. So that's one school of thought. The other one being, I can get a gift from someone, it's not a problem. I can still enjoy it. But when I've earned that gift, when I've earned something, there's a different joy to it. There's a different feeling to it. And I think that's the deservingness and getting it just like that. Right now, if I have to become deserving for God knows what, whatever nature has in store, I might not even be doing it to become deserving. I have to do what I can, because I'm only going to pass this street but once. Another biblical quote to add, So I just have to do that. Whatever deservingness that creates, leave it to someone else, leave it to a higher force to decide. And if they choose to give, thank you very much. If they don't, I'm happy in any case where I am. And probably that's what I would sum it up as. I don't know if it's a summary or it's a start all over again, but back to you, Rishi.
No, thank you. I think very interesting ideas on deservingness. How physiologically also we are benefited besides the emotional and the mental capacity. I mean, I remember, one of the great masters of Sahaj Mar said, give some, get some. Give more, get more. Give all, get all. He used to say, nature never leaves anything in a vacuum. As soon as you create a vacuum, it fills us. So the only reason how nature will fill us is when we make ourselves empty. And for me, that is service.
But Rishi, sorry, I'll just say one more thing that I remember now.
Yes, please.
One of the research papers was, the title, you know what that was?
What is it?
Evolution does not reward mean and selfish people.
You bet.
I'm talking of a scientific
Yeah,
research paper that goes on to
yeah,
prove that.
yeah,
So this is
yeah,
our chance. So that's what I would say. Back to you.
yeah, absolutely, yes. Now, let's summarize this whole, the discussion which we had. And there's a very beautiful poetry which is there. Its work is man's great function. Work is man's great function. He is nothing. He can do nothing. He can achieve nothing, fulfill nothing without working. If you are poor, work. If you are rich, continue working. If you are burdened with seemingly unfair responsibilities, work. If you are happy, keep right on working. Idleness gives room for doubt and fears. If disappointments come, work. If your health is threatened, work. When faith falters, work. When dreams are shattered and hope seems dead, work. Work as if your life were in peril. It really is. No matter what ails you, work. Work faithfully. Work with faith. Work is the greatest remedy available for mental and physical afflictions. And that's very true in this time of crisis, when we don't have to stop working. We have to keep on working. We have to show that we are beyond what we think we are. And service is an opportunity which gives us that creative power through which we can latch on to a higher source and fill ourselves with that divine in us and work. There's another wonderful tool in heartfulness, which is called universal prayer. We all know morning meditation, evening meditation cleaning, and bedtime prayer. We all do those three aspects of heartfulness as we are working on ourselves. But there is universal prayer, which we use for everybody on this earth. What is this universal prayer? As we spoke in the start, that even a simple smile may be good enough. Maybe giving peace to our other brothers and sisters in the universe is good enough. That's the at least that service we can do, because we are capable of doing it, because that prayer is from our heart, and all human beings are blessed with a heart which can have those prayers. So what is this universal prayer? At 9 p.m. sharp, as per your local time, that is 9 o'clock in the evening, everyone who would like to do so, wherever they might be at the time, may stop their activities and meditate for 15 minutes in the following manner. Now, today we are at the end of our webinar. We may not have 15 minutes to go over it, but I sincerely request all our audiences to try it at 9 p.m. local in your own time zone. So we should sit and have these lines. We should think over these lines and an idea that these lines are evolving in our hearts. All brothers and sisters. Now, when we say all brothers and sisters, our mind will automatically include lots and lots of people in it. As we progress during this prayer, we should be very careful how our mind is expanding and including the universe inside. All brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion. All brothers and sisters. Anybody who comes into my mind, all brothers and sisters of being filled with love and devotion. And that real faith is growing stronger in them. A real faith, which is unshakable, is growing stronger in them. All brothers and sisters are being filled with love and devotion. And that real faith is growing stronger in them. They have faith, but now it is getting strengthened. Sit in these feelings for 15 minutes and meditate over it. It shall be of immense value, which only our practical experience will reveal. And you will slowly see that all brothers and sisters, the society around me, the neighborhood around me, the family around me, are getting transformed with love and devotion, and that real faith is growing stronger in them. To know more about Heartfulness Wellness Initiative and the various webinars, various activities that we do, you may please write to us at wellness@heartfulness.org. If you are interested in starting heartfulness meditation or to know more about heartfulness initiatives, you may reach out to our trainers at heartspots.heartfulness.org. We have various trainers distributed globally who are providing free of cost service. There is no charge to us in providing heartfulness meditation. You can also visit our website, heartfulness.org. You may please download the Heartfulness app, which is available on iOS and Android. You may see more details on our YouTube channel, where our global guide Daji's short videos are present, words of wisdom, and much more to know more about heartfulness in detail. You may start heartfulness meditation by attending 3 masterclass by visiting us at heartfulness.org/en/masterclass. These masterclasses will take us through the first 3 introductory sittings where we will know what is meditation, how to do meditation, what is prayer, how to do prayer, and there are small videos which will help us engage into this wonderful heartfulness meditation. There are various other channels. You can tune into your heart, which is a special series with a global guide of heartfulness, Daji and Dr. Adizes. You can visit that. There is live cast, which Daji has given to all of us. You can visit and see those. So there are various good links, the Heartfulness magazine, the webinars which we are conducting, and the Hello Life, which is our youth initiative. And also wait for our next webinar, which is about being positive and productive. That's pretty much what we have for all of us today. I would like to thank each and every audience, each and every listeners. Thanks for your time. I hope this time was worth invested by you. Thanks to Vatsala ji and thanks to Harpreet bhai for your wonderful discussions, initiative, thought provocations, and summarizing the beautiful idea of serve to deserve. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was very nice being part of the panel.
Thank you.